Okay. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Namaste. Today we'll be starting the explanation of the 50th Sutra of Sadhana Pada. This sutra talks about the kinds of pranayamas. So we have seen that in the last sutra, we have seen that it was an introduction of the pranayama, and they have mentioned that the wrong pattern that one has established in pranayama, that has to be disrupted, breaking that old pattern, which was called as gati vichhedaha. So that was the previous sutra. And now, after changing that habit, after observing the wrong breathing pattern and understanding the right way of doing it, Sage Patanjali has gone on to explain what are the different kinds of pranayamas that one can indulge in. So these are the three kinds of pranayamas given in Sutra number 50. And there is one more exclusive pranayama given in Sutra number 51. So these three pranayamas are Bahya Vritti, Abhyantara Vritti, and Stambha Vritti. These are the three kinds of pranayamas. You can make a note. Bahya Vritti, Abhyantara Vritti, Stambha Vritti. These are the three kinds of pranayamas. Now, what are these three kinds of pranayamas? Bahya Vritti is the exhalation, the rechaka, or the outward breath. The movement. Vritti is the movement. So, the outward movement or the external movement is called as Bahya Vritti. Abhyantara Vritti is the inward movement, is also called as Puraka. Okay, then we have Stambha Vritti. What is Stambha Vritti? Stambha Vritti, suspension or holding, something like a kumbhaka. Okay, so the three kinds of pranayamas that were described in the sutra are Bahya Vritti, Abhyantara Vritti, and Stambha Vritti. Okay, now the next three words, which are Desha, Kala, Sankhya. Desha, Kala, Sankhya. Now the word Desha means by locus or the location. The awareness of the location is what is being specified. One has to be aware of the location of where the pranayama is going on, the place, the location. Okay, then the kala, the second aspect. One has to be aware of the duration. One has to observe the duration. Keep in mind the duration of the practice. Okay, this is the second important aspect that has to be observed. And the third important aspect that has to be observed is Sankhya, the counts. The counts. Okay, the number of times that one practices, counts. Okay, so Desha, Kala, Sankhya, these are the three aspects that one has to observe during the pranayama practice. What are the three aspects? Desha, Kala, and Sankhya. These are the three aspects that one has to observe during the pranayama practice. Okay, Paridrishta means observing it. Okay, you are observing it. You're trying to see what you're doing. Paridrishta means to observe, as seen. Okay, as seen or observed. What is being observed? How your pranayama practice is becoming dirgha and sukshma. Dirgha means it is being prolonged. Now, how does this prolongation happen? when we are doing a careful observation and we are doing the bahya abhyantara stambha vritti, okay, when we are doing these practices in a particular way, as mentioned, that will kind of prolong the practice. I mean, the practice is getting prolonged. It is made slow, okay, than usual. Okay, which means when compared to the normal breathing pattern, the one who's practicing with these things in bearing in mind, their breath or the aspects that are given, which are Puraka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka, are prolonged. That is what it is meaning. Okay, the three aspects, Puraka, Rechaka, and Kumbhaka, are being prolonged, which is expanded. Dirgha. And Sukshma, they are becoming more refined and subtler. Okay, they are becoming more subtler. That is what Dirgha and Sukshma mean. Now, the three kinds of pranayamas described here are Bahya Vritti, Abhyantara Vritti, and Stambha Vritti. By suspension of the outward and the inward breath, okay, which means we are trying to observe and slow down the outward and inward breath, the gap between the outward and the inward breath. So by that kind of suspension, the prana becomes dirgha and sukshma. Okay, so what has to be observed here is the desha kala sankhya. So with the locus, with the duration and the counts, having these three aspects being observed, you will be able to achieve the dirgha and sukshma aspects. Okay, so remember the three modes, that is Puraka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka, which is through Bahya, Abhyantara, and Stambha Vritti. These three modes, when observed by the Desha, Kala, and Sankhya. Desha is the place of awareness and the concentration in the body. Okay, like what is the extent of the prana's realm? Usually in the scriptures it's said that the prana is 12 angulas from the nostril. Okay, when it is outward. Okay, angula means one finger width. Okay, so when you place a small reed or a thread like structure in front of your nose, at the point where the thread doesn't move at all, that point from the place of your tip of your nose to the point where you place the thread, generally that length is 12 angulas. That is what is being said. Okay, so that place of awareness and concentration in the body is called desha. They're measuring, they're observing all those aspects, what is happening with the breath. Okay, the duration is the measure of the movements, like how many inward breaths and outward breaths, and how long are we doing it, and how many times is the sankhya. Okay, through these awareness or through this kind of observation, the practice of these three aspects, like the bahya, abhyantara, and stambha vritti, becomes dirgha and sukshma. Clear with it? So by observing the desha, kala, and sankhya, these three aspects, the three kinds of pranayamas become dirgha, which are prolonged, and sukshma, more refined. Is that clear?
So, ma'am, are we supposed to maintain this 12 angulars prana, or it should be constricted within that, or it should be that much?
Usually, for a normal person who's not practicing pranayama practices, if they place the thread like at that distance, the thread will not move. Okay, if we bring it closer with our breathing pattern, the thread starts to move, right? Because of the outward breath and the inward breath. Okay, if we breathe out, the thread will start moving, isn't it? Just imagine placing a thread in front of your nose and you're breathing in and out.
So, to the extent that it moves is the length of my prana, ma'am. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. From
So
your
it should
body.
be 12, ma'am. It should ideally it should be 12. Shorter means that means my breath doesn't have qualities of dirgha and sukshma. Is that its meaning or no?
It is concluded that way. I didn't see that
Okay.
conclusion being given, but
Okay.
this is the general observation that the sages have made. Like it is 12 angulas. That is the measure of the prana from the body.
Oh,
That
got it, ma'am.
and also when you're taking the inward breath, like when you're inhaling the prana, where is the location of that prana? How is it navigating in the body? Is it going into the heart region? Is it going into the navel region? Where is the prana now? Okay, that is the awareness, the internal awareness of prana, which these sages have highlighted. Like these are the two aspects, like the outward awareness of the desha and also the inward awareness of the desha. Where is the prana within the body? Where is the prana when it is outside the body? Okay, so with every inhalation and exhalation, what is being said is you have to carefully observe. Okay, paridrishta means carefully observing that. What? The desha. Okay, kala is the duration. Okay, now duration could be in the sense that you are doing it for these many units of time. Okay, these many units of time, in the sense like what they have written in the commentary is like, for example, if you rotate a finger around your knee for 3 times, if you rotate a finger around your knee for 3 times and just um, do this, what is it called, like this kind of sound, like where we just join 2 fingers and make a sound, right? Like we cross 2 fingers and make a little sound with the fingers, right? Snapping the fingers, just like snapping the fingers. So when we rotate 1 finger around the knee and make the snapping sound, that duration is called 1 kala.
Ma'am, I didn't understand. Snapping, I understood. Rotating
Rotating
around
the
the.
finger around the knee, like just use your pointy finger and just rotate it around your knee 3 times, just around the knee, 1, 2, 3, and do this. Okay, that is equal to 1 count. Okay, generally if you see in the Hatha Yogic text, they might have given the ratio of the breathing as the Rechaka, Puraka and Kumbhaka as 1:4:2, right? 16:64:32. That is the count that they might have given. Na? Have you done the pranayama in Hatha Yoga text?
Ratio thing has not come yet, ma'am.
Oh,
Kumbhaka
one
sir?
is
Nagarajan sir, your
1:4:2 is correct, ma'am.
Yeah. Was
Uh,
that done in the Hatha Yoga text? If that is done, then you'll be able to understand. So this general understanding of the count, which is 1:4:2, is also given here. Okay, in the commentary. But how do you count that one? How do you count that one? That aspect is answered by rotating the finger around your knee for 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then just snapping your finger like this. That is 1 count. If you do that for 16 times, that is 16 counts. Okay, then 64 is the retention and 32 is the exhalation. Getting it? So that is the duration and the count. Count is 1:4:2. Duration is that rotating it 3 times and snapping the finger. That is given as the kala, duration. Okay, which is nothing but the measure. How are we measuring it? Because they didn't have all these things like seconds, minutes, and all that at that time. So they had their own way. Some gurus described this as a method. The others said the ma. These three aspects are also related with the kala, like the duration. Like when you say om, that is one count. Again, om, that is the second count, something like that. So they have their own measures in place. Like these many counts you have to do the pranayama for, like the inhalation for, the retention for, and the exhalation for. Getting it? So that one measure is called kala, and the number of times repeating that aspect is called sankhya. Okay. So from the beginning till the end, whatever is going on, okay, that every process around this pranayama is carefully observed with respect to desha, kala, and sankhya. Only then the practice becomes dirgha and sukshma. That is what is very clearly mentioned. These things have to be observed in the sense followed very carefully. What makes a difference is when one follows these aspects. Observe means nothing but following these aspects very carefully. That is when the aspect of pranayama becomes dirgha and sukshma. Getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
So in the sense of dirgha, you have to remember that the breath, the bahya, abhyantara, and stambhavritti, all these three aspects will last longer than usual. If you have probably done it for 10 counts, you'll be able to keep increasing it more and more. So it'll last longer. That is what is dirgha. Okay. Sukshma is it becomes more refined. You will be able to breathe really well without any disturbance. Like your body, your nadis are pure. That is how you are able to define that quality. It is becoming more refiner. Okay, refined. Getting it? Stambhavritti, have you all understood? Stambhavritti?
Yes, ma'am. That is holding the.
Holding the breath, suspension mode. Okay,
Yes.
it could be after the inhalation, which is called as antarakumbhaka. Okay, when you do it after the exhalation, it is called as bahya kumbhaka. Getting it?
Yes.
So these aspects you have to be very careful. Like the question could be around what are the three aspects. Like they could give desha, kala, sankhya, and something else. Okay, what are the three things that one has to observe or practice during pranayama with respect to desha, kala, sankhya, and they might also give some other word, or they might give only two and give something else like desha, kala, and vritti or something, some other klesha, something. Okay, you should be knowing that when they talk about pranayama, these three aspects are the ones which you have to observe. What are those three things? Desha, kala, and sankhya. These are the three aspects that you have to keep observing. Okay, practicing according to these three things. Getting it? Now, another important aspect is like the sadhaka. We have seen that there are different kinds of sadhakas, mrudu, madhya, and adhimatra. And the mrudu ones are the ones who have just started or are not very advanced in their practice. For them, the initial count is given as 12, which is 12 is to 48 is to 24. That is the ratio. Again, the ratio remains the same. 1:4:2 is the ratio. But for mrudu, it is 12 is to 48 is to 24. Okay. Similarly, for madhya, it is 24 is to 24 into 4. Okay, 98. Okay, and 48. So 24, 98, 96 and 48. And then for Adhimatra, it is 36 into 4, then into 2. Getting it? So the ratio remains the same. 1:4:2 is the same. Mrudu, it starts with 12. Madhya, it starts with 24. And Adhimatra starts with 36. So for people who are at the Adhimatra level, they have actually gained quite a lot of efficiency in pranayama. So these are the differences that are given. So here, what is changing? We can see that there is a change in the Kala and Sankhya. Right? Kala still remains the same because the count, the measure remains the same, but the counts are changing. The counts are increasing based on the level of the sadhaka. Okay, starting from Mridu, the least, Madhya, then Adhimatra. That is how they are gaining expertise in the pranayama practice. Now, after the three practices of Bahya, Abhyantara and Stambhavritti are mastered, that is when another kind of pranayama, which is called as the last kind of pranayama, which is the Chaturtha pranayama, Kevala Kumbhaka, which is the solo retention. Like there is no Bahya, no Abhyantara, or no Stambhavritti. It just happens on its own. That is the fourth kind of pranayama, which is described in the 51st sutra, which is a result of these mastery of these three pranayamas. Okay, when the breath in these three pranayamas becomes dirgha and sukshma, it becomes so effortless that they are able to get into the Kevala Kumbhaka state without any difficulty. Naturally, they are able to progress into the Kevala Kumbhaka state. Okay, now what are these three pranayamas called? When that is called Kevala Kumbhaka, these three pranayamas are called as Sahita Kumbhakas. You have to remember that name also. So this will keep repeating in the Hatha text. Sahita Kumbhaka, and the other one is called Kevala Kumbhaka. Under Sahita Kumbhaka, you see that there are a lot of other pranayama practices given. Like when one gets a proper mastery of Bahya, Abhyantara and Stambhavritti, in Sahita Pranayama, they will naturally progress into Kevala Kumbhaka. Now the examples of Sahita Pranayamas are Surya Vedi, Ujjayi, Sheetali, Sheetakari, Vastrika, Brahmari, Murcha, Plavani, and the other pranayamas also that you will see in Geranda Samhita and other texts. Okay. Now the important aspect here is they have not explained any of those names, neither the asanas nor the pranayamas. They have just stuck with the basics. Like for asana, they have clearly said it is Thira and Sukham. And for pranayama, these three aspects, Bahya, Abhyantara and Stambhavritti, mastery of these three will lead to Kevala Kumbhaka. Okay, they have not even used the word Kevala Kumbhaka. Bahya, Abhyantara, Vishaya, Akshepi, Chaturtaha. So when these are put aside, when Bahya, Abhyantara and Stambhavritti are put aside, when will they be put aside? Only when there is a complete mastery of these three aspects, then they will be put aside. In that case, there is a Chaturtha pranayama, which is called as the Kevala Kumbhaka. Kevala Kumbhaka, the word is used only in the commentary, not in the sutra. That is a natural understanding, which is like an outcome of the mastery of these three kinds of pranayamas. Getting it? So, is this clear? The aspects of the sutra from the examination point of view, the Desha Kala Sankhya and the Bahya Abhyantara Stambhavritti, the three kinds of pranayamas and the three observances. Like what are you supposed to follow in pranayama practice? Desha Kala and Sankhya. Okay, That is when it becomes Dirgha and Sukshma. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, in the fourth kind of pranayama, the Bahya Abhyantara Vishaya Akshepi. So the aspects of the Bahya and Abhyantara are kind of put aside. Akshepi is to put aside, is to move past, beyond that, in the fourth pranayama. Okay, Bahya Abhyantara Vishaya. So the aspects related to Bahya Abhyantara are transcended or put aside in the fourth pranayama. Okay, now what is he trying to say is the external and the internal realms that we have seen in Bahya and Abhyantara, those aspects are not happening here. No inhalation, no exhalation. When there's no inhalation and no exhalation, and it is not done by any force, okay, it naturally happens. There's no effort to get into that state. Now, when there is Stambha Vritti, which is the third kind, which is given in Sutra number 50, when it is Stambha Vritti, it is not natural. There is an effort to suspend the breath for holding it, right? But in Kevala Kumbhaka, there is no effort. There is no effort to get into the state of leaving that external and internal breath. Okay, no inhalation, no exhalation. There's no effort in that. And the person remains in the state which is free of inhalation and exhalation. That effortless state of being free from inhalation and exhalation is called as Kevala Kumbhaka, which is the fourth kind of pranayama, and it is the most advanced level of pranayama. Clear? Now here you can understand that the Desha, Kala and Sankhya are they applicable or not? If you question yourself this way, in the Kevala Kumbhaka, because they have mastered the three, they don't need to count, or they don't need any measures or observation. They've gone past that. Getting it? They've gone past that stage of Desha, Kala, Sankhya. Desha, Kala, Sankhya is for the who are practicing Bahya Abhyantara, has transcended the Bahya Abhyantara and Stambha Vritti. For them, the Chaturtha aspect will not need Desha, Kala and Sankhya. Getting it? So for Sahita Kumbhakas only Desha, Kala, Sankhya is applicable. For Kevala Kumbhaka, Desha, Kala, Sankhya is not applicable. Clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we'll go to the 52nd sutra, which is the fruit of pranayama. Now, what happens if one masters the Kevala Kumbhaka aspect? So the fruit of pranayama is tata kshiyate prakasha varanam. Tata kshiyate is thereby. What does thereby mean? After the practice of pranayama, thereafter, after having achieved mastery in pranayama, in the fourth kind of pranayama, not the first three. The fruit of first three is the fourth pranayama, which is the Kevala Kumbhaka state. After the mastery of the Kevala Kumbhaka state, this is the result of the Kevala Kumbhaka. What happens after Kevala Kumbhaka is Kshiyate. Kshiyate is there's some kind of vanishing happening. What is vanishing? What is disappearing? Prakasha Varanam, something that is covering some light. Okay, there is something vanishing which is covering the light. Probably there is a veil kind of a thing on the light, and that veil is being pulled off. Okay, so that the aspect or the dark covering which is covering that illuminous thing is removed. Getting it? You can just imagine the veil that we see on a movie screen. Okay, for the movie to become visible, what happens first when we get into a movie theater, like the old style theaters? You see, there's a curtain kind of a thing, right? Only when the screen moves up, only when that curtain moves up, that is when you'll be able to see the visuals, isn't it? As long as the curtain is obstructing the view, you'll not be able to see what is happening behind that. Only when that curtain is moved up, then you will be able to see what is appearing on the screen properly, right? So here what they are trying to say is, when that veil, which is nothing but the dirt that we have accumulated in our head because of the kleshas, samskaras, the karmashaya, because of our vrittis, because of vasanas and all that we have seen, right? Various things which are kind of clogging the brain and making it muddy and murky. All those aspects are moved, just like a veil is moved, the unveiling happens. Similarly, with the mastery of Kevala Kumbhaka, that dirt which has clogged the minefield is moved, and the sattva aspect of the buddhi shines bright. Okay, the sattva of the buddhi shines bright when one has achieved mastery in Kevala Kumbhaka. Okay, is that clear?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, 53rd Sutra, it talks about the aspect of dharana. Now, when are they talking about dharana? If you see the logical order, when the aspects of the pranayama are totally mastered, like one has mastered it to an extent where they are able to get rid of the dirt in the minefield. Okay, how? By controlling the breath, right? By controlling the breath, they are able to control the minefield. They are able to get rid of the dirt in the minefield. Anybody remembers the shloka in Hatha Yoga Pradipika about this aspect? Was this covered in Hatha Yoga?
Can you repeat it, ma'am, again?
Pranayama shlokas, did you see the lines of pranayama?
Chalevate chalam chittam.
Chalevate chalam chittam nischale nischalam bhavet. Yogin sthanatvam apnoti. That sutra.
Tato vayum nirupaye.
Nirodhayet, yes. Who can tell the meaning of that?
If the breath moves, the mind moves, ma'am.
Yes.
And if the breath is quietened, the mind is also quietened.
Exactly. So getting it, what kind of impact pranayama has when it is done in the right way, it kind of takes a complete control of the mind. Getting it? So that is how they are able to control the mind and clear up the mind of the dirt. They are not letting it move from that point. Okay, they are completely bringing it to a control, just like holding the reins. Okay, with what? With the technique called pranayama. When that is mastered, the mind is mastered. With that kind of mind, they are stepping forward into the dharana aspect. Okay, the dharana generally doesn't happen out of randomness. I mean, we sit at a point to concentrate on something. Does it really happen? For a commoner, no. maybe for a minute or two or a few minutes, not more than that. But for a yoga practitioner who has really learned the art of pranayama and has mastered it, for them the next logical step is dharana. In dharana, what is given in the sutra is dharana suche yogyata manasaha. So the mind becomes fit for dharana. By what? By the practice of pranayama. So that chale vate chale chittam nishchale nishchalam bhavet, that particular sloka is very, very apt here. The mind is controlled with the help of pranayama. With that kind of control in the mind, one is able to develop a perfect focus. Getting it? It becomes yogya, fit. When the person has mastered pranayama. Through pranayama, there also develops the capacity for a person to hold a focus on anything. It could be on anything, but that person will be capable of holding a focus on anything. Okay, it could be a lamp, it could be a mantra, it could be anything. But the mind becomes prepared or fit only when it has mastered pranayama, when it is able to breathe as per the conditions given. So the first three pranayamas, which are related to Sahita Kumbhaka, upon the mastery of them, one goes into the mastery of Kevala. Only upon the mastery of Kevala, one will be able to move the veil and then see that brightness of the buddhi, which is the sattvic aspect of the buddhi. Only then they will be able to get into dharana, which is the mind which is fit for focusing, concentration. Okay, you have to remember that pranayama ultimately leads to dharana. Okay, and it is the one which is helping the mind to ward off all the instability, fickleness, and all those things. Okay, which relates to rajas and also tamas, like sloth and ignorance. So the rajasic and tamasic aspects are removed, and the buddhi becomes sattva. The sattva is predominant. That's why in the previous sutra we have seen the word prakasha. Okay, prakasha avaranam. Just for that illumination, the veil is moved out. Clear with this? Dharana sucha yogyata manasaha, because of which practice dharana becomes possible. Pranayama. Okay, now I'm going to Pratyahara. If there are no questions, anybody has any question in the previous sutra?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. So the 54th sutra is the actual definition of Pratyahara. Okay. Now, pranayama, the logical order is the next step in the Ashtanga yoga. After pranayama is pratyahara. But why did they give a sutra about dharana? You might have that question. That's not the logical order, right? After pranayama, it should be pratyahara. Why they have given about dharana even before? They have not defined it in that depth, but they have given an introduction to dharana. Why did they give it there? Anybody has any thoughts on that?
Ma'am, when mind becomes stable, then can one practice the pratyahara?
Because a mind which is not distracted, which is not moving here and there, okay, which has kind of quietened, that is the result of pranayama. And upon that kind of quietening of the mind, one can actually get into the logical order of pratyahara. You're seeing that the mind has become very quiet. It has become steady. It has become very controlled. It is able to concentrate. Now we are trying to bring it into pratyahara. Okay, what is pratyahara? Pratyahara is defined as swa-vishaya. Swa-vishaya is with the own objects. Swa is one's own. Vishaya means the object. Swa Vishaya means with one's own objects. Asamprayoge. Asamprayoge is not in communication. So we don't get into any contact with those objects. Okay, what objects? Which the sense organs are looking at. We don't come into contact with the objects which the sense organs are looking at. It could be anything related to the sense organs. It could be smell, taste, touch, okay, sight, anything. So when the sense organs are not coming in contact with those sense objects, that is when the chittasya swarupanukara. So the sense organs can resemble the form of that quiet and mind field. Now the mind field is quiet, right? After the pranayama practice, we have seen that there is a complete stillness in the mind. Now the sense organs are not going outward. They are not getting connected with the sense objects. Now, where are they? They are residing or resembling or imitating what the mind is doing. What is the mind doing? Mind is very quiet. So the sense organs are also imitating the mind, which is very quiet. Okay, that is chittasya swarupanukara. Iva is like indriyanam of senses is called pratyahara. Now, how is it defined? Now, when one ceases the conjunction with the objects of the senses. Now, when there is no contact with the sense objects of the external world, the senses become totally absorbed in the mind field. Getting it? When there is no connection with the sense objects in the external world, the senses, what do? They become so absorbed in the mind field that they look as if they have quietened. That is their rupa. They look as if that is their own rupa. Okay, that is what is given as pratyahara, the assimilation of the senses into the mind field. Okay, assimilation is nothing but withdrawal. We are withdrawing the senses from the objects and bringing it back to the mind field. That withdrawal is called as pratyahara.
Ma'am,
Clear?
then it will happen automatically after pranayama?
It will happen after the pranayama when the mind is very, very, very quiet with the sattva buddhi. Getting it? Pratyahara is possible after the pranayama practice when the mind field is quiet. It doesn't have any vrittis now.
So can we say,
okay,
the result of pranayama is pratyahara?
The result of pranayama directly is not pratyahara. When we are trying to withdraw the senses here, we might be at different stages of pratyahara. Like for a person who has mastered pranayama, now they are always around objects, right? We cannot live a life without staying in contact with objects. Always we are with objects. Yes or no? We are always in some contact with the external world. So when we are in contact with the external world, it is like we are in close distraction. We are in very close mode of distraction. We might get distracted at any point, even if we are in pranayama practices also. Getting it? Now, how does pratyahara differ from pranayama is we are concentrating in pratyahara, especially we are concentrating on what these sense organs are doing. Okay, we are trying to disconnect the sense organs from the objects of the external world. But in pranayama, the objective was to kind of get into the right practice of pranayama, which is the sahita pranayama, and then get into the kevala kumbhaka, which is the complete easeless suspension of breath, because of which the mind has been completely controlled. Okay, because of the control of the prana, the mind has gotten into a controlled state. In that controlled state, he said that in the 53rd sutra, in the previous sutra, he has said that dharana becomes very easy. Okay, dharana becomes possible. Like, why? Because the mind is quiet now, the mind has been controlled because of the prana, the mind will be able to focus on one particular aspect. Okay, getting it? Then after having said that, the next sutra is saying pratyahara, which is disconnecting from the objects of the external world. The sense organs always tend to connect with some objects of the external world. It could be anything. They are all around us. If we open our eyes, ears, and keep ourselves ready for it, it is all around us. So immediately, if a person who's not practicing pratyahara, don't they get involved in the objects outside?
Yes, ma'am, they will involve.
Immediately they'll get attracted to the objects outside. Now, what are we training in pratyahara? We are training the sense organs from going outward. We are training the sense organs to work in the opposite direction, which is towards the quietened mind. The mind is quiet, so you work in this way and don't go towards the outside world. That is the training that we are giving in pratyahara. Okay, there are various stages of pratyahara also. Like for a beginner, he will not be able to kind of get rid of everything at the very first attempt, right? We have seen this when I was explaining the vairagya aspect. Did I talk about the 4 kinds of vairagya in apara vairagya?
Yes, ma'am, you spoke. Yatamana, Vetireka.
Yes. So you see, it is coming in stages, right? It is not happening all at once. Isn't it? It is not happening all at once. Pratyahara happens very gradually. You can't withdraw from the external world right away. When you think like this, it cannot happen. It has to happen in a very gradual way, like you're disconnecting from certain things and you're disconnecting from a few things that are still left hanging with you, and there is only one aspect that is left with you. You are clinging to that, and later you are able to leave that also. Okay, pratyahara also happens in that way, like gradually and slowly. Getting it? So, swavishaya asamprayoge. So, when we are disconnecting the sense organs from the sense objects, to make it like the chitta, to make it like the chitta, to make it resemble like the chitta. What are we trying to do with the sense organs? We are trying to make it resemble like the chitta. Okay, that aspect is called as pratyahara. We are pulling the sense organs out from the external world and trying to make it resemble the mind field, which is now very quiet. That action is called as, that activity or technique is called as pratyahara. Okay, to put it in one word, it is withdrawal of the senses. Withdrawal of the senses from the external objects is called as pratyahara. Clear? Now, I'll give you an example. This example comes to my mind, okay? If there is a king bee in every king bee or queen bee in every beehive. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
ma'am.
There is a main bee in the beehive. So that bee guides all the other bees. Okay, that king bee or the queen bee is the one which guides all the other bees. So if the king bee moves, the other bees move. If the king bee stops, all the other bees stop. Now, pratyahara is one such aspect where if the mind is stopping, it means all the sense organs are also trained to stop. If the mind is moving, all the sense organs move with it. Getting it? So when the mind is controlled, then the senses are in a controlled state. When the mind is not controlled, the senses are also not in a controlled state. So before entering into the pratyahara state, through the pranayama practices, the mind is brought to a controlled state, after which it is put into pratyahara, where it is able to control the sense organs. Clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Should I
but basically what we will say is the mind will distract basically by sense organs only, right? Then how it will be controlled without controlling the sense organs?
sense organs will go outward only. Sense organs will go outward only. So first, what are we doing here is, with pranayama practice, we are bringing the mind to a controlled state, right? Did we first handle the mind?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is
When
the
we are
master of the sense organs? Who is the master of the sense organs?
Mind.
Mind. First, we have brought the mind into a controlled state. That is why they've given the pranayama practice in that order. First, the mind is controlled, and then the mind, which is in a controlled state, is able to control the sense organs. It is able to control all the sense organs. The sense organs are withdrawing from the external objects. If the mind were to be distracted, the sense organs will be heavily distracted, isn't it? So that cycle won't break anywhere. The sense organs will keep feeding into the mind, and this distracted mind will keep feeding the sense organs.
okay.
Yeah. Should we go into the next sutra?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the sutra is about the result of pratyahara. Now one has practiced pratyahara. Now what is that which one accomplishes with pratyahara practice? It is tatah paramavashyatendriyanam. Tatah means followed by the practice of pratyahara. Parama is the ultimate control. Ultimate control is attained. Ultimate control of what? Of the sense organs. Okay. With the mastery of pratyahara, ultimate control of the senses is achieved. That is the result of pratyahara practice. Getting it? So here again, I can quote one more example. This in the Ramayana, if you know, Sita was kidnapped, right? When Sita was kidnapped by Ravana, she was taken to Lanka. Okay. And Ravana tried all his ways to convince her. I mean, he convinced her in every possible way. By force, by showing her wealth, by luring her in different ways. Okay. There was nothing that he didn't try on her. He tried every damn thing to lure her. He wanted to marry her. Okay. He tried all possible ways. But Sita Devi was so intent because she only had one thing in her mind. What was that one thing in her mind? She only surrendered herself to Lord Rama, and there is nothing else in her mind. Her mind is clean. There is only one aspect in her mind, which is Rama. Okay. No other aspects are tempting her. Okay, though she's seeing everything, the mind is in such a controlled state where it is able to easily ignore everything. Okay, that is the state of kind of, I'm just relating it with this example so that you can kind of internalize it and understand what the highest pratyahara means. Okay, so that kind of fixing the sense organs. Okay, it is not allowed to linger anywhere. It is completely under your control. That is called as the highest form of pratyahara, where one is said to have mastered the pratyahara aspect. Getting it? So this chapter, Sadhana Pada, ends with the pratyahara, result of pratyahara, which is complete mastery of the senses. Here with the sutras of Sadhana Pada, the last sutra.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I would like a quick recap of what we did today. 50th Sutra. Who would like to, how many people do we have today? Nagarajan sir, do you want to explain the 50th Sutra?
Yes, ma'am. Bhagya abhyantara stambha vritti desa kala shankyapi baridrishto dirkha shukshumaga. Bhagya means external, abhyantara means internal, stambha means hold, vritti means thoughts, desa means place, kala means time, shankyapi means number, paridrishto means observation. Dirka means prolonged. Shukshma means shuttled. This pranayama is also called as Sakita pranayama.
Yeah. Can you put it in a line, like what are the important aspects of the sutra?
This only my drawback, ma'am. I fluently English in sentence making, ma'am.
Okay.
My native full and full Tamil only, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So who would like to explain the summary of the sutra in just one line? What are the important aspects of the sutra?
Can I do, ma'am?
Yeah. Lipalika, yes.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, here is Bahya Vritti, external movements, Abhyantara means inhale, internal movement, and Stambha Vritti, holding the movement. So here is trying to explain, means these three movements should be followed by the Desa, Kala, and Sankhya. Means one has to observe the movements uh, by the place, time, and number. Then yogi becomes prolonged and subtle. Means yogi should observe these three movements by place. Means measuring the prana from the measuring the prana external means in place there is two internal, one is internal measuring and external measuring. So how prana is going outside, means that should be length of the breath, that should be measured. And then inhale, how prana is going inside and how it's touching, means through heart region or navel region, that should be measured. These two measures come to under place. Then time.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Then duration. How much prana going inside and outside, that time should be measured. Then number means times of counts, means numbers means time repeating called sankhya.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when yogi is
Thank
able
you. Yeah, I think any doubts? Anybody has any doubts in the sutra? Desha, Kala, Sankhya, is it clear? The types of pranayamas. Bahya, Abhyantara, Stambha Vritti.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So 51st Sutra, Can I ask Sakshi Pandey?
Yes, ma'am. I'll try. So, Bahya Bhyantar Vishyak Shepi Chaturtha. So, this is the fourth pranayam. Here, we do not do effort in inhalation and exhalation. I mean, the inhalation and exhalation, and we don't uh, basically we do keval kumbhak here, in which only we can do kumbhaka easily. We don't have to put extra effort in it. And here, the like the previous one, we don't focus on deshkal and sankhya thing, because when we are doing kumbhaka, kevali kumbhaka, then our breath is retained, and so deshkal and sankhya thing will not be applicable here.
Yes, yes. It is a natural state of prana, right? Kevala Kumbhaka, where you don't need Desha, Kala, and Sankhya. You're gone past that stage of Desha, Kala, and Sankhya. That is only for people who are practicing the three aspects of pranayama. 52nd sutra, please. Who would like to explain? Shravani, will you do that?
Yes, ma'am, I'll try. Tatak Shriyate Prakashavaranam. That means thereby, but after practicing the Shriyate, that it reduces or disappears Prakasha, and it was covered by light, illuminated by the light. When the person mastered this Kevala Kumbhaka, the dirt of the mind is cleared, and one can see that the sattvic aspect of the mind, and which illuminates like a light.
Yeah, yeah. 53rd sutra. Sarika, can you explain 53rd sutra?
Yes, ma'am. So it is explaining that how the pranayama or the kevala kumbhaka is leading to dharana. Dharanasu ja yogyata manasaha. So here dharana is explained after getting mastery in the pranayama. That means the mind becomes fit for dharana. When pranayama is done, one gets fit for concentrating on one object.
Yeah, yeah. 54th sutra, Rajeshwari, can you explain that?
Yes, ma'am. Svavishaya asamprayoge chittasya swarupanukara iva indriyanam pratyaharaha. So, in this sutra, basically it's the definition of pratyahara, ma'am. So, when mind is quiet, then dharana happens, then pratyahara happens. So, svavishaya asamprayoge indriyana means slowly the sense organs are being pulled in, and they don't come into the contact with the external objects in the world. The mind has gone quiet now, and the senses also withdraw, and they try to come into the mind field, ma'am. So basically trying to disconnect senses from the outside world or outside objects. This is pratyahara.
Good, good.
Thank you,
Shisha,
ma'am.
can you explain the 55th sutra?
Yes, ma'am. Tata Parama Vashyatendriyana. Here again, Patanjali is describing about the sense control, that is pratyahara only. So, thus practicing pranayama, different stages, Sahit Kumbhaka, Kevala Kumbhaka. Then finally, we have gained the control of our mind by controlling the breath. And then by controlling the mind, automatically the sense will not get attached to the external world. That's how we get the pratyahara, and thus we get the highest control over the senses.
Yeah, yeah. Is everything clear to everybody until now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if I don't hear questions, I'm assuming you are clear with the concepts.
As of
Okay.
now, it is clear, ma'am.
Yeah. Keep revising. I mean, revision is most important. The more you revise, the better you can have the understanding on these aspects. One time listening will not do. You have to come back to it. Okay, that is